Welcome to Tigs Bits. This week we're talking about one heck of a weekend that the three of us had. We were all able to finally hang out and be in the same place at the same time. We had a blast visiting, so we're going to talk a little bit about that. There was a Taylor Hicks concert that was mixed into all of this at the Flora, Bama in Orange Beach. Blasi came down, and the handler had just gotten back into town after being on the road for a couple of Justin Moore shows, and I was there in Orange Beach with my family on vacation. So all the stars aligned in Alabama, as the good Jamie Johnson says. Gentlemen, it's good to see you boys again. And JR, I wish that we were doing this live in your studio. Your absolutely wonderful and glorious studio, man. How are y'all doing?
Oh, man, good.
Yeah, I'm good, brother. Yeah, I'm glad you guys got to come over. I mean, let's don't oversell it here. I mean, it ain't that fancy, but it's big and it's got room and it's a cool spot for us, and we definitely will do that. I think I know you and I talked about it while we were at the Flora, Bama. I know you told your son Riley, you said you mark it next year. We're going to do the podcast from that stage right there. So
no pressure.
No pressure. So that's on my list of things to get done, but we should be able to get that handled, which would be awesome to do it there. But definitely want to have one here sometime at my studio. I'm glad you guys got to come see some of my stuff. I know we were talking about all my little memorabilia things, and I do have a lot of cool stuff.
Unbelievable.
I'm cool with a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then I went over to, and you got to see him play the other day, and I've talked about him on here and other podcasts. My friend Mike Diamond, who is from Pensacola, who plays at the Flora, Bama, but his father was a musician who originally played on the first time they ever had a stage at Flora, Bama in the late 70s with Jay Hawkins. Diamond's dad was playing bass for Jay, and Diamond was 10 years old playing out in front of the Flora, Bama on dune buggies before that was when you could have fires on the beach in the late 70s. So anyway, and his dad was also a pro wrestler, so that's how the whole tie-in in the area. So I went to his house yesterday, and it's always like you think you got something cool. You see somebody else's, like you got a nice truck, to somebody with a nicer truck pulls up next to you.
Right.
Well, I went to Diamond's studio, and oh my God, he's got me smoked. I'll send you some pictures. I mean, the Leonard Skinner posters from the 80s and 90s, but signed by all of them, and pictures of him with them, and all the Merle Haggard, and like he has a decree from the city of Muskogee, Oklahoma, proclaiming that this is Merle Haggard Day, the only one of those there ever was from that day in whatever 70-something.
Wow.
Oh, that's crazy.
And I mean, he gave me this when he worked with Merle Haggard for a long time before Merle passed, but he gave me this Merle Haggard hat pin that, like, there was only so many, and they were on their way out, but he grabbed a few, and he's like, I don't give these out often. I'll give you one because I know you need it. I was like, buddy, I will treasure it.
Dude, that is awesome.
So anyway, I say all that to say, yeah, I love my studio, and it was great, but it's like somebody's always got a better one. You know what I mean? It's like you think it's like if you go to the bar and you think, oh, I'm Billy Badass, I'll whoop everybody. There's always somebody tougher.
There's somebody
you know what I mean?
do it.
So as cool as stuff as I got, Diamond, he brought me back down to earth and humbled me a little bit when I got to go see his collection. And he did give me some good ideas though with the lighting stuff, and also just with sound dampening, like you've got the sound panels behind you, Blasi. I've got some of that stuff, but I need to integrate it more to the room because it is a little boomy, and like you've mentioned before, Tiggs, that the fans and the echo and that kind of stuff. But it's a work in progress.
It's a big room. It's a lot bigger than I even thought it was. But man, it's so freaking cool. I mean, Chad and I, we were talking last night. We visited for a little bit. Just all the old albums. That's one of my takeaways is you have the old albums. You can't see that in the shot. It's looking at you, or it's behind you, or in front of you. You're looking at it. But I took a picture of it, and you'll see that now if you're watching this. And I said, I don't have time to thumb through all of this, but I will zoom in my picture and see exactly what these albums are. And good God, that is solid country gold throughout that whole deal. And you can tell they're worn. There's little, the paper's cracked in places. Like, those are the real deal records. Were those your grandparents, or where'd you collect them over the years?
Yeah.
Where'd they come from?
Yeah. No, when I first moved to Nashville, I lived on Wayne Mills' couch out in Nolensville. And then the first time I moved in with someone or had my own room there was with our former drummer extraordinaire, engineer, now classic car guru David Brian Gulliver from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. I moved in Gulliver's house. He lived in a studio house off Wedgwood Avenue in Nashville, right by the fairgrounds. And I moved in a room there with him, and he was old school from the late 70s, early 80s era when he was in high school and getting in the music business. So he had the most kick-ass record player stereo combo I've ever seen for an adult to this point. He's basically the first professional somebody who worked in the music business that I was that close with. But he had like a stereo like I had, but it was all integrated. He had the cool square remote control. We're talking about 2003. He had the square remote that you touch it and it would control anything up there.
Oh yeah,
like you didn't know anybody that had that then. You know what I mean? Like he could turn up the radio, like the record player with it, or he could turn the TV, and it was all integrated. It was just real cool. But he had all that vinyl. He turned me on to the ZZ Top and the deep cut Led Zeppelin and all the cool stuff that I learned about from that classic rock, because he was real classic rock and solid gold country, Dwight Yoakam, Buck Owens, that type stuff. So I got into it there listening to him, because I had some albums over the years, because I did have a few when I was little. You know, I had like Thriller and the Chipmunks Christmas album and some stuff, my Donald Duck, whatever, my parents on the little blue record player. You know?
Yes.
And so I had that, but I never really got into it because we were CDs and tapes when I was growing up, you know. But he had all that, so we started digging through it, and man, I re-loved how good those records sound. And then he would show me like hidden tracks on albums when you keep playing it at the end, and then a minute later a new track kicks on and stuff like that. So I really liked it then. And when we had a house fire actually, and he had just moved out, and we had a house fire, and some of his stuff was still there and lost some. And I had started collecting a little at that point, but I really got into it when I wanted to find. This is pre-iTunes as well, so if you wanted certain stuff, you just couldn't find it. Everything wasn't on a CD or a tape where you could get it at the big store. So I had to start diving. But you got to think, again, this is mid-2000s. The new record craze had not happened yet. So I could go to these stores in Nashville, Grimey's or wherever, and they had like 50-cent record days on Tuesdays and stuff. You could buy any record you want for 50 cents, and then other days they're usually like $2 or $3. Even for a good record might be $5. So I racked up on all the cool stuff, and then I also bought some off of, if I'd see somebody selling a basket of records, I'd say if $20, hey, it's worth 20. I'll see what they got, and that's where I found like my Jackie Gleason records and some big band jazz stuff that I didn't know existed. Was sifting through that and finding that. But so basically, going back to your question, just to collect it as an adult, just because of love of how good they sounded and how unique they are. Like you're saying, looking at the album covers and opening them up and reading the stuff, and it just doesn't translate.
You don't get that anymore. You can, but you have to. It's just you don't go to a record shop and then all the goodies are just in the format that it comes in, and I think that's why that craze is kind of coming back. Is people still want that physical media. I have a buddy of mine who he still listens to everything on CD. He still buys CDs. He's anti-MP3 and Spotify and all of that. He's just like, I don't want my music that way. I want and honestly, they do sound better. I mean, even
MP3s
I have CD in my truck.
Stuff,
they're compressed.
That's compressed. Yeah, it's not as dynamic. It's not as warm. Like you play these records, man. You play, and they say the hissing and popping, which that's part of it some too. But it's really just the warmth of the sound of the stuff coming through. It's just
there's no degradation in that sound. That is the pure sound that it was the way it was when it was recorded on that day. Yep. I love that. I think there's actually a Steely Dan album that has that in the notes. It says this album is not meant to be EQ'd or changed in any way. This album is meant to be played on a balanced stereo just the way it is. Basically, they're saying this album's perfect. Don't try to be your own little DJ and add some bass to it or something. No, just play it. It's perfect. That's right, just play it. Exactly.
I think that's Asia awesome. Or one of those big Steely Dan records. But that's funny. And now I remember I know a lot of kids are into albums now. I know Justin's oldest daughter. That's all she wanted for Christmas this past year was a record player.
My daughter too. She got a record player, and then she's gotten some records. She found Eleanor Rigsby Beatles 44 at a thrift shop that she paid $1 for, brand new mint condition. And then I was like, I think I should look this up. that thing's worth $200 or $300.
Dang, that's awesome.
Just
man.
somebody, yeah. So that kind of got her into it a little bit more of looking for albums and things like that. And of course, now the modern, nowadays artists, they come out with those things too, which is cool. Yep. She's a big Harry Styles fan, so. Yep. The first shout out on Tig's Bits to Harry Styles.
Right. But and Taylor Swift, she sells Justin puts all his stuff on vinyl now. I think there's been a few recently we've done on vinyl that we didn't even make CDs for.
Oh wow.
Because they sell more vinyl. And I saw a thing where this is the first year, maybe it was last year, that vinyl outsold CDs since
did it really? Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I would believe it.
No, I totally believe it. My 16-year-old's all into it as well. I mean, for the last 2 or 3 years, man, he's just everywhere he goes, he's looking for vinyl. You know what I mean? And everything.
I think it's like we're saying the look of the stuff. I mean, because you get to pick it up and look at it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's not a little square on a CD, and it's not the little thing on a iTunes or whatever, Spotify. It's the big album. And we always said that in touring world and merchandise, when I worked with those indie rock bands and stuff, they always did vinyl, and I always asked why. They were like, well, because if you're at a club show and you've got this little CD on the wall, you can't really see that hanging up. But if you've got this big vinyl hanging up on the rack at the merch booth, you're like, ooh, you can see that from across the room.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. It makes sense.
It's an art. It was an art in the 70s, 60s, and 70s, and 50s, 60s, 70s, and before then. But really in the 70s, 60s, and 70s, complete art form in and of itself. It's good to see that kind of coming back. I think that only helps the music industry, and it's something that you can feel, touch, and see. And people are buying them that don't even have record players. They just like to display them. I mean, I get it. They're pieces of art.
Yeah, well, that's what I was getting at the Swift thing. She's smart on her, as she is with a lot of things, business-wise and entertainment stuff. She put her last album out and made it in 5 or 6 different colors. It's the same album, just the vinyl is pressed in different.
They're buying 5 of those things.
Smart.
5 of the same exact record. And they're not opening them, they're collecting them. And they're, like you're saying, they're putting them up on their walls to take their pictures with, but they have a blue one, a red one, a pink one, a yellow one, or whatever, different one, because it's just all the vinyl beads. They pour into a thing, they melt, press them out. So you can do whatever color you want. So instead of making 6 albums, she made one album, made it 6 colors, and she's got enough diehard fans where they're super fans that are going to buy them all.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
Exactly.
Genius.
Yeah, it really is, man. And then, of course, not to stick around too long on JR's studio, but man, behind him, of course, we can see these pictures that are in the shot, but don't sleep on the pictures that are outside of the shot. I mean, you've got all kinds of stuff, drive-by truckers and more Hank and more everything. Those lanyards, I spent 20 minutes looking through. I looked at all of them. The tours and those lanyards that are behind him and the things that he's been to just blow your mind, man. It's a
really
who's who of music. And it ain't all country. It's not just country music either. Most of it is, but not all of it. And then he's got those picks sitting there in front of him. The one that jumped out at me, of course, the Bellamy Brothers. Awesome. I think you told about that. But you have an Alice in Chains pick there that we briefly touched on. Where did you get that thing?
I believe I got this from a guy who was a guitar tech for them.
Okay.
Who would be somebody in Alice in Chains? Name start Jason or Jerry or
Jerry Cantrell. It's probably Jerry Cantrell's pick. That's him.
Great.
That's it.
Just Jerry.
Oh man, yeah, just Jerry. Freaking awesome, man.
You know what's awesome though about that studio though? So there's the main room, and which I always thought, JR, that was like just an attachment of your garage to your house that you had kind of pimped out. Oh no, it's like a 2,000 square foot building, and what's behind him is like a maze of rooms. I mean, that's what. I got lost, and I thought we'd moved into a whole different. I thought we'd somehow worked our way through a tunnel into his house. It's just room to room, and then you go into his closet, where his touring clothes are. That's just where he keeps his clothes for touring out there. And also found a couple of cool things with. That jacket from Charlie Daniels that were numbered 1 through through the band and everybody there, and you've got number 1 Charlie's coat.
It was Charlie's
there.
jacket. Yeah, he actually wore that Cowboy Christmas, New Year's Eve, 1983 at Billy Bob's in Fort Worth.
That's unbelievable. Man.
Unbelievable. The vintage Alabama jacket.
We didn't have time, but I've got, you talking about the picks and stuff. Y'all got bags of picks from over the years from different people.
I bet
anybody
you
you
do.
can think of. I was just looking through here, and I kept a bunch. Like, I've got the original John Party ones, our first tour we ever did.
Oh,
because I knew John was going to be big when I first met him. I was like, if this kid plays his cards right, he's out in Jackson one day. Mm-hmm. And or nothing gets in your way. Sometimes things outside of your control can derail your career, but John is not. John's having a very successful career.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I saved 100 of these picks because they're going to be worth $10 a piece on eBay one day when Papa retires.
Heck
Oh yeah, they are. I think they're going to be worth a little more than $10.
You know what I mean? But it's one of my favorites and one of my favorite bands on the road today, Muscadine Bloodline.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Got that from Chucky.
That's
yeah.
cool,
Nice.
man.
But anyway, yeah, I've got a bunch of stuff. Like I said, as cool as my stuff feels, and it is, and it is cool. And I know you guys. When I went over to Diamonds yesterday, I'm like, you know, it's just like when you get your truck clean. You're like, man, I got a good looking truck. My truck still looks pretty good. Then you pull out to the first red light, and a guy comes right next to you, a brand new 250 with all the bells and whistles. You're like, oh hell, never mind.
Well, crap.
So, but anyway, well, thanks guys. Yeah, I'm glad you guys got to came over. You mentioned it earlier, Tiggs. We got to go to our brewery. This was kind of a spur of the moment thing. You were coming to town, as Blasi and I knew that because you were bringing your wife and kid over to spend a few days and relax on the beach. And I was going to be in on Friday, so we were like, yeah, we'll try to come up with something. And then Blasi, you know, he's always got something going on, whether it's being a right-wing social media a megastar or just being a great family man and a member of the community, taking care of business and doing things and going places. But they had gotten back. You were in town. I said, well, Sharice flew in Saturday. From California, so I said, well, maybe we'll hook up Sunday. So then I put a text out, and I was like, well, let's go to the brewery tomorrow afternoon. You know, it's right; it should be chill. So I got up there at 3 or 4 in the afternoon, just a handful of cars, which was perfect. I was like, yeah, coast is clear. Then Blasi texts, hey, I'm en route. I changed the plan. I'm coming that way. And then you were going to come around 5, Tiggs. But in that time, we had a couple of other of our buddies, the Grices, the Ramseys, several other friends end up showing up, bringing the kids. So we had a big group of kids spanning some young ages there. And it was really a great little afternoon. It was a little warm, but we were in the shade. They had the food truck. We had some beers.
Had live music playing. Was it
Sean
Williams?
Sean Williams. She is
Oh,
fantastic.
man.
I think
She's
she's from north around the New Orleans area originally, but I've seen her play in the area a few times. Yeah, she's got some great stuff on iTunes. Her records, Sean with a W, Sean Williams. Check her out if you guys get a chance because she's got some really good albums on iTunes. It's cool. It's kind of indie rocky. I don't know. I like it.
I love that vibe. It was fantastic. Super cool place. The kids had a freaking blast. It was, you know, just a great time. All the ladies enjoyed visiting with each other. Everything,
which is always good for us guys when the wives and girls get along. You know,
the show can continue. Everybody, we have full permission to sail on, which is great.
Because as you get older, you guys know. Because as you get older, it doesn't really matter what you like. It's whoever your wife can hang out with and gets along with that you end up going to hang out with them. Your best buddy, if his wife and your wife don't get along, you probably ain't going to hang out with them very much. It ain't going to happen.
That's right.
So luckily, all ours get along.
No doubt. So we leave there. We enjoyed, hung out, ate a little bit, and all of that. And we transitioned from the brewery over to JR's house, which is where we got to see the compound.
It was right at about dark. I guess it was right at about dusk, dark, and you guys all jumped in the trucks, and I had the kids with me and Reese and the Bobcat. And it's as y'all. I was trying to explain to y'all while we're at the brewery. It's literally what 3/4 of a mile.
No, it's right across the street.
It's just right across the street. Once we got there and we got the just kind of fanboying over JR's studio, we just Blasi, being the right wing guy that he is. Just he fires up the old phone and ends up jumping on Alex Stein's Sunday night show, basically to kind of jump in and hopefully help to resolve this Alex Stein and Bubba the Love Sponge drama, which JR and I are not maybe as well versed on. Blasi, you want to hit on that
JR
for a
is,
second about
JR is zero versed on, but if it involves Blasi, I want to know because I got his back 1,000%.
That's
so whatever
right.
he's in on, I need to know. I want to know because if it comes up, I got his back on whatever whatever fight he tries to pick. So, so I was listening.
Exactly.
But hey, you got to give me a little credit too, Blasi. When you decide you want to do this, we're like, yeah, and you're like, you think we should? And I was like, if you want to, brother, the studio's right there. We got internet. Just knock yourself out. And as soon as you got in the chair, I started pit crewing you, man. I had you a stand for your phone. I got you a light going. I got you some power. And here's some whiskey. Let's go. Let's do this thing, baby.
It was great, man. I mean, we had already shut down the studio and moved into the yard. And I saw that notification. I was like, well, Alex Stein's live right now, boys. I was like, I feel like I could hop on there. He'd probably put me over there pretty quick. And, man, JR just went into action there, started getting everything taken care of, setting me up. I mean, getting my phone mounted up, bringing everything in, getting the studio ready. And we were on there probably 5 minutes, and then boom, we're in the call.
Yep.
Chad Blasi, the one man posse, had made his entrance.
He tried. Hey, you wore the world famous power glove. He tried to give you a little shit about it, but jokes on him. He didn't know what a damn power glove is. He just lost. I
told him you could play a piano with it or a guitar.
Yeah, you can shoot laser beams through it. You can cancel people through it, Alex. That's you just lost a bunch of '80s kids on not knowing that one, buddy.
Yeah. I was a little surprised and disappointed that he didn't know what the hell that was. And then I'm like, wait, I don't know how old this dude is.
He's only like 30 years old.
30. I mean, he doesn't know what the hell it is.
Let me tell you a secret. If you're going to be in this world of outside stuff and be a loudmouth and be provocative and all that stuff, you better have some rounded knowledge on most topics.
Because
if you go up against a hard hitter like Blasi, and if he was really on, we'd had a few beers that night. If he was really on and wanted to bury him, he'd have chewed him up and spit him out. There's some things, all that vigor and energy can't replace knowledge and wisdom. It just can in certain fields. And anyway, it was funny though. But they were funny on there, because I queued up the speaker so we could hear. I kind of messed your audio up back to him, but so we could listen in on their call and. A bunch of jibber jabber, but those guys are looking for a fight. They just want to pick. They want to argue. They want to be. Let's just get into something we can all. And it was fun listening to him. And then when Blasi came in, he had his. Chad Blasi, the one-man posse, Ric Flair, superstar Billy Graham, Dusty Rhodes spiel going on, his wrestling promo, and it was good. He gave him nothing but love, because as soon as he saw it was you, he said, "Oh, there he is." So
it was fun, man. We got to get in there and mix it up, get him to talk about the Bubba feud that's going on. I guess where he skipped Bubba's show the week before. He had a standing 9:15 to come on his show, and skipped the show for another show, which Bubba viewed as a lesser show, and fired Bubba up, man. And it's funny to listen to this going down, and he's like, Bubba's just a little butthurt and this. I'm like, dude, honestly, you kind of did, like, last minute jump out to go on a kind of a smaller show. You might want to apologize,
Or at least just acknowledge, hey, I wanted to do this one more. I don't want to do your show. Just shoot them straight. That's another thing going back. This kid trying to play both sides, and he lost because he's on a lesser show, and he was initially in the wrong because he confirmed this time to be on this, wasting everyone else's time to be ready, and then he bows down. So that's really you need to suck it up and take that one, Alex.
Which it was wonderful. Blasi comes in, and as we know, Blasi's Bubba Army all the way. He's got Bubba's back on this, but he likes Alex too. But somebody needed to be that neutral person in the party. Maybe they could bridge that
a little bit of voice
together.
Of reason there.
Yeah, a little voice of reason.
Well, that's why Bubba first picked you up. You just spit facts, Blasi. You're not picking a side really. You're just saying, hey, this is what happened. These are the parameters. This is the standard protocol on that. It's not my opinion.
There's just a simple right and wrong. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. And right here you'll see the video that we are talking about where Blasi confronts Alex and tells Alex that he needs to apologize to him. So enjoy this clip.
Yeah, you see Bubba's all mad. He's just trying to cause a bunch of fake internet drama for no reason. He's just mad at me because I rescheduled, and he doesn't think Sheely's a big show or whatever. He thinks his show's bigger. It's just a stupid thing.
Well, you know what? Hey, here's the truth though, Alex.
Bubba likes you a lot, man. I've listened to Bubba a long time. He loves you a lot. He sees you as a good buddy, and he had a bad day that day, man. He had an IRS day where he found out like his accounts got seized. He had to have attorneys. He had to pay. Like,
is that wait? I didn't hear that. I didn't hear that earlier. Is that what happened? Wait, what happened? Because Bubba is going through all kinds of financial issues. I mean, he got it. He's got it tough.
Yeah, he's like they jumped on him that day, and then you didn't show up, dude. Dude, you hurt his feelings. Just being honest, you know what I mean. Y'all were buddies, and he just got his feelings hurt, man. You know Bubba's a good dude.
I've been talking to Lummy. It's funny, too, because I've been talking to Lummy that morning. I was like, oh, dude, I forgot that. I woke up early. I was like, oh, I forgot. And he just, I guess, I don't know. And then I guess he didn't tell Bubba I went on Shuley's show, which that's why Bubba got mad. But, dude, we're going to be fine. He's going to be butthurt about it.
Just apologize to him, man. He thinks the world of you. He knows you're a pimp on a blimp. You're going to big dang places, man. Oh. Hey, Alex Stein this Saturday night is on a fight card in Nashville, Tennessee, and it's going to be, this dude ain't never fought. But he is.
I believe that.
He is fighting some other, Modine, who's some other YouTube personality from like over in Europe or somewhere, has flown in, and they're fighting Saturday night. So he's in Nashville this week. And part of me, I've got to be in Nashville on Sunday. I don't fly until Sunday. I wish I'd have known this before. I'd have probably flown in Saturday because he said he'd give me all the tickets I want if I want to come. Like he's got tickets there, but I'm not going to be able to make it. I thought about it. I was like, no, I can't get up there. But I will be watching that fight because there's a free stream that he's going to have. So I'm going to watch Alex Stein. I wonder fight Modine.
Do you know the Modine? What does he look like he could go, or you don't know anything about it?
I think Modine looks more athletic than Alex. Alex doesn't look like the most athletic guy. I saw some of his training videos this past week, and I don't know, man. Alex has got him in size, but Mo's looks a little quicker, a little more agile, and usually
athletic.
Yeah. So
because you'll give out a win and drop those hands, and then it's over. Well, maybe we need to send Alex a power glove. Maybe that'll give him the extra.
There it is.
To take out his opponent. Hey, and I tell you what, I'm going to proclaim a challenge here. If he somehow wins this, I got a social media buddy that's a social media star too. His name's Logan Webb, the old sidewinder. And if he somehow pulls this off, I'm putting my money up, and I'm sponsoring Logan to give him the old sidewinder.
Oh, I like it.
And I don't know if y'all know who Logan Webb is, but that's my buddy. I'll check him out on Instagram. He's going to give you a couple of them sidewinders. And he's got an army of rednecks that'll come fill it up too. So I'm putting that out there in public knowledge. Of whoever wins this, if y'all want to fight a real social media star, y'all get my old buddy the Sidewinder.
Sidewinder, I like it, man. I like it.
But I want send us the link to that too, because I want to at least watch the clips or highlights of something. I will. This fight Saturday night.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Yeah, well, that was great. But I'm glad you did jump on, Blasi, because it was you got to get the piece in there. We were all here. We were milling around anyway. We had the stuff here. Might as well do it. And you got to see how I operate in my studio and just get some more love out there for the Tigs Bits podcast. Ultimately, that's the goal with doing all these other things that Blasi's doing, that I do, and that Tigs does on the side, and with different things we do on social media, is to get everybody wanting to spread the love on this show, because we're going to have a lot more content. We're going to have a lot more guests. We're going to have all kinds of fun stuff, and people drop by and jump in, and we're going to do this thing a lot. So go back and listen to the old episodes, but get ready for a lot of good new episodes. You can go to tigsbits.com. You can go check out the Instagram page. I got links on JR the Handler. So y'all just make sure to stay engaged. Tell your friends, tell your family. If you've got somebody you're hanging out with and they leave their phone around, go on the little purple app, touch on it, search for Tigs Bits. Go on and subscribe and download for them too, because they're going to want to have this stuff. But I want to say that first. Yeah, we do all this to get more people listening to this show, because we're going to have more fun content like that. And it's been a fun ride so far, and look forward to growing with everybody out there. But thanks for everybody so far. But spread the word, tell your friends, click, rate, like, subscribe, all that good stuff.
Absolutely. And then to kind of to wrap this up, we on Saturday, JR had come back into town, and we're in full-blown vacation mode at this point in time. I was with some friends and whatnot, but it worked out. Last week, whenever we recorded, towards the end of the recording, JR had mentioned that he was going to be at the Flora, Bama, and that Taylor Hicks was going to be playing at the Flora, Bama on Saturday. Well, I got excited, and you guys will see that clip here in a minute. of me getting excited, and there's a good little ending to that clip too. Too good to cut. We have to see it. I had to cut it out of the episode last week, but we're putting that in this week for sure. But got to go down to the Flora, Bama. It's been a long time since I've been there, probably 10 or 12 years. And man, it is the Flora, Bama has not changed, but the area down there absolutely has. I mean, it used to just stop at the Flora, Bama, and there weren't buildings or anything else past that, and that is not the case anymore. If I didn't know that that's where it was, I would have just driven right past it and missed it. You know, I mean, it's just
it gets kind of buried in there now. Yeah,
it does.
What used to be the standalone.
But man, inside it, just the same as it always was. The coolest bar in America. It ain't even close. You can bring your kids in, which is fantastic, till what, 5:30 or so.
Yeah.
So, you know, they keep it kid friendly until then. It's just an absolute fantastic time. And we got there early enough to have good seats and stuff like that. And we were hanging out and got to watch JR do a little bit of work on the stage with Taylor Hicks, as you'll see right here. What Taylor was playing. But man, look, I think that Taylor Hicks is one of the most underrated musicians in all of America, at least underrated singers that there is. He's one of the best singers that I've ever heard in my entire life. And I kind of tell that story here in a minute of the first time that I was able to see him. But I was a big fan of American Idol back then when it first started. You know, Carrie Underwood had just come out of it, and especially, I mean, she's the biggest name, and Kelly Clarkson and Fantasia, and you know, it was doing well.
Taylor was the first male artist to win.
That's right, he was, and Simon Cowell did not like him at all in his audition. I watched that yesterday. It was just kind of reminiscing on some of that
he
stuff.
Hated him throughout the entire season, man.
He really did. He really did. Well, and the reason why is he just realized, I do believe, that he wasn't going to be a pop star. There just isn't that isn't what he's designed to do. But if you want some soul and you want your heart
real
to
music,
break, or you want to hear some real depth in music, and dude, that guy's got it. He absolutely does. And but it was really good to see him, to just see him perform. His voice is as strong as it was 20 years ago. And he has a new song that he came out. He played it that day. That's only been out for 3 or 4 months. The Porch Song, or Porch Swing is the name of that song. It's freaking good, dude. It was just absolute blast to hear him play, you know.
I heard you were fanboying up there, right front row and everything. Is that right?
Look, you know,
aviators on inside the building. Tiggs was having a big old time.
Yes, I was. I had a good time. Awesome. You know, absolutely brought it in there. You know, I mean, most people kind of associate me with acts like Pantera and Metallica and 311 and stuff like that, but yeah, and here I am.
Sepultura.
Oh, I like them.
I know you do.
but here I am, just as excited as if it's freaking Elvis Presley up there. Yeah. I don't know what it is about him that I've just always liked. It's just his soul. That's what it is. He's Soul Patrol. I just like his voice.
Patrol.
That's
it. Soul Patrol. And you know, I can say this. I've known Taylor 20-something years. When I first started working with Wayne, he was a regional act playing out of Birmingham area with, you know, a bunch of mutual friends. And he would jump up and play harmonica with Wayne, and Wayne would jump up and play with him. And he was always really good. There's no doubt about it. I always knew he was talented, as good. I was a lot younger, had a different perspective on things, but going back now, watching him the other night, it's like a lot of, like Dallas Moore, I've talked about it before. They've always been some of my favorites. And hell, even with Justin, you know, his voice on his first records to the one now has changed. So you're going to progress and hopefully grow as an artist. Yeah. Man, Taylor's show the other night was so good. The band was so good. The songs, the vibe, his voice. You know, we hung out for probably an hour before I walked him downstairs to go on stage, and got to catch up a little bit. And you know, he just sounded great, was in good spirits. Everything was good. Had some friends and family there that day. Yeah, and when he got on stage, he blew me away again for about the 20th time over the years. And I was just I was happy, not surprised, because I knew he was always good, but I would say just even more excited or remembered me how good he actually was, and
just wows you again, and that's kind of amazing in itself. Somebody you've seen that many times, and you got wowed again by him. Yeah,
and watching him too, because I've seen him a handful of times since then, but never in like full band mode, because I've never seen him play a big show since he was on Idol. You know, he went out to the Vegas residency and did this and that. And I've told people this before. Outside of shows I've worked, I ain't been but like 15 concerts in my life, because I've been in the business since I was 21 and 22. So I just hadn't been to a lot of concerts outside of the ones that I've worked. So I hadn't gone to Taylor's, and I've known friends in his band and obviously him, but getting to watch him now as a professional with a professional band and having done it for this long at a high level, man, it was impressive. And that was as good as it gets.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely a professional. I'm going to say something that I think will ring true. I still believe, and he's had a #1 song back whenever he came out of Idol, and his album went to #1 or 2. I mean, he's had platinum or whatever. But he's done well initially. But I still think that dude is going to have him an original #1 song that resonates with everybody, makes the pop charts and all that, but it ain't going to be poppy. It's just going to be that soulful voice of his, something with like an Otis Redding type of vibe kind of deal. I don't know. Maybe I'm stepping out of place, but I really and truly think that dude will have a monster hit or two at some point, because he may look like he's a little bit older, but the dude's my age, which, I mean, I guess is getting a little old, but he's still got a lot of years left. We're not as old as Metallica yet, you know what I mean? And I love them, and I ain't knowing as they are still absolutely freaking crushing it. But he's still got 15 or 20 years. He's at the midpoint of his career, in my opinion, and he can do so many things. And an interesting thing I didn't realize, we talked about Saul's juke joint on our show, and we talked about some barbecue places. I didn't realize that he was one of the co-owners of that place, which I thought was pretty interesting.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, when they had, I think they had Saul's in, and I may have the order wrong, but you had Avondale, and you had one in Homewood, and they opened a third one, and it was the juke joint, and I think that's when Taylor came in and they partnered. And I don't know the depths of that partnership. It's just that one location, or if he's now a full investor in the whole franchise. But yeah, he is a part owner there, and I know they had more of a stage set up there so they could do bands and music outside of just barbecue. So, that makes sense. And I didn't realize that the owner, what's his name, Wilson.
Sorry ass Wilson.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't realize that he had died a couple of years ago either until the other day, and JD had told me. I was like, man, I was not aware of that. So. Yeah. Anyways, a follow up to the Saul's barbecue.
That's a good way, and that's smart on him to diversify your portfolio when you start doing well. Put some over here, do this, do that. It's funny talking about before I walked Taylor down to the show that night. Man, he had some good stories backstage, talking about his time on Idol. Because I told him, he told us ahead of time that he was going to Hollywood or going on to the next round or whatever. And I remember we got that news one night in the van. Wayne told us, but we couldn't tell nobody, obviously. So I had to tell my mom, but I had to swear to secrecy, because she could be, because it was going on. It was a big deal then. There was no finding out, and she knew the whole time. But we didn't know he was going to win it at the time. But he told me first time I'd heard this, some of that kind of stuff, like you're saying, the Simon, because he had asked, he had looked out before they went to win, or if he went out there to figure out who was going to be the last one, and something with the security guard. He said, "Where's Simon?" He said, "Oh, he's probably down at UCLA trying to round up a few more votes for Catherine or something." And so he kind of got it blown that he knew he was going to win right before he went on. So he even said, he's like, when I get out there, you could tell I'm happy, but I'm like, I'd already just got the news broke, so it kind of ruined my moment. But we'll get Taylor on sometime. We'll swap numbers again. I got his new number, so we'll make sure we'll get him on at some point and get him to try to tell. Maybe I'm sure it's past the stages of whatever it could be.
Yeah, that'd be great.
We were real pumped up about it because, again, I told this before, but Snapperheads was a little bar and grill right down the road, and he used to play there all the time. And I remember when I found out he was on Idol, I went there for Wednesday or Thursday nights when he's supposed to be there, and he wasn't there, and I was upset. Yeah. But there's a group of us that used to go watch him, and we all got into it, and we all downloaded this, whatever, it's a website or software on our computer, and it was this auto call. And we would call in and vote. We would get in like 3,000 or 4,000 votes each. And we would just hit this button, and it would just dial and vote, dial and vote. I mean, we were all, he had a huge support like that from the South, you know.
Oh yeah,
the whole South.
And you know, it's funny talking about playing there. When I was walking back over as he was playing, I had to go across the streets. When I texted you, Tiggs, that I had some other work, I had to go across the street, get another act going.
Right.
And then I was coming back, and there was two guys coming up, and I heard them kind of making their little comments. They were like, "Yeah, I guess everybody's big American Idol fans that are here. The guy from American Idol." And I heard them talking. I said, "Well, you know, he got his start here." And they were like, "Really?" And I was like, "Yeah, he's from Birmingham." I said, "He used to play here all the time before he got the American Idol." They were, "No way." I was like, "Yeah, he played here a couple nights a week for years until he got the American Idol thing." So I guess a lot of people didn't realize that he's from Birmingham, and there's not just a random American Idol person playing the Flora Bama. That's where he cut his teeth.
I don't think that he was not playing. It was not related to American Idol and why he was there whatsoever.
And he was kind of like, before he said, "We got a good house down there." I said, "Oh yeah, it's gonna be full, brother." And shit, we got down there, you couldn't put another person in the dome.
Nope,
it was packed. And rocking. And but yeah, I thought that made me think when I was walking over, because I assumed, you know, I guess people don't do the backstory, but if you look, he's from Birmingham. He played on the coast, as Blasi's saying, down over there where he's from or lived, and he's played all over the Southeast for years before the college circuit, all that stuff before Idol. So that was the tie-in there. It's just not a random Idol person playing there.
It was a home show. He was playing at home,
and his piano player Brian, who I've known for a long time, who plays in other bands. He's been with him since day one, as far as after post Idol, and Brian said that's the only shows he does with him now are the Flora Bama, a couple Flora Bama shows they do a year, and he uses a different touring band when they go do other stuff. Because most of those guys have relocated back to Alabama as well.
Right.
I think Taylor said he's in Nashville. Okay. But we got to talking, and he was thinking, you know, he's like, I've thought about that, not having to live in Nashville anymore. And I was like, I mean, I'm not in the creative space that you are, but I make it work, you know. And he was like,
you can get pretty creative down here.
Yes. So I gave him one of my wife's business cards for real estate cards. Like, hey,
there you go.
Let your
That's right.
So.
As you should have.
Absolutely.
So, but it was great. It was good to catch up with him. I got him on stage and went and got him some drinks and was sitting him some drinks as they were getting going. Then I look over, there's Tiggs just smiling with his shades on, watching the handler handle.
I mean, look, I was, and I have a video. And I'm like, man, I'm looking at Taylor Hicks. I'm looking at my boy JR. This is a perfect triangular point here. This is
We're
great.
at the Flora Bama.
At the Flora Bama. I mean, it doesn't get any better.
Hey, my wife, my son's with me. You know, the only person missing, my daughter. She was staying here, watching our little weenie dog, taking care of her, and she was having to work.
How old is your daughter?
My daughter's 20.
Oh, I got you. Okay,
yeah,
she's
she's about to be 20. So
not grown up, but she's an adult.
Yeah, but she would have
enjoyed
enjoyed
herself and all that.
Riley didn't maybe necessarily enjoy the entire Flora Bama experience the entire time as a 10 or 11-year-old. Kids maybe wouldn't. It's more for your parents. That was our time. But my daughter would have been in it just as much as I was. She would have loved it.
But Riley had a good time. It was fun catching up with your son. You got a great kid. They're everybody who brought their kids over had great kids. It was fun. They all interacted and played and hung out. And then I remember we got over here and Riley's like, "This is where you do the Justin Moore podcast?" I was like, "Well, we used to. It's been a while, but we used to."
From time to time.
We rode them on the side by side. Then I look out, and then they're just hanging out over there playing on their phones and stuff. So that was a great time, and just a great weekend. I'm glad we got to get the Tigs Bits trio all together in one place at one time for the first time. Many more to come. And we actually got some pictures we'll put up and all that fun stuff. But
that's right.
I know we've got, like I say, I've got to get on the road, but I know we're going to try to have some guests coming on the next couple episodes. And lots of fun, other fun content in general. But like I mentioned earlier, everybody hit that reminder, notification button, all that fun stuff, so you'll be notified when the next episode drops. And look out for Tigs Bits because we're coming, baby.
Oh yeah, we're coming, and check this video out. This is the video from last week, kind of seeing me geek out, getting the news that Taylor Hicks was going to be playing at the Flora Bama, and it ends with a little something special, and I'm not going to ruin the surprise, but this episode will end very strong. Stick with us for 3 more minutes. Like he says, like, subscribe, review, rate, do all of that stuff, and keep on coming back.
Lastly, thank you to Bull Boss, Rouse's, and everybody who sponsors this podcast.
Absolutely.
Couldn't do it without our sponsors.
Saturday, I'm supposed to go to the Flora Bama. Taylor Hicks is playing for 4
No
o'clock.
way.
Yeah, if you want to come, I'll get y'all hooked up. Whatever.
When is that?
Do you got ball games? Is that why you're in town?
No, we're just coming to hang out.
That's what okay.
No, this is my son. So my son got invited. He came there about a month or so ago, right as school let out. A buddy of his, dad got a condo. He works over there doing stuff anyhow. So
your son got the hookup for you. Your son's working angles already.
yeah, my son got the hookup. Yeah, absolutely.
Teaching him well.
Yeah.
Earn you keep, son.
So we're going with them, and we're staying with them at their condo. But my Taylor Hicks story is that LSU played Alabama in Tuscaloosa a couple years after he won American Idol. Okay, I freaking loved Taylor Hicks, dude. Through that American Idol run, I loved his voice. I still love his voice. I loved everything about him. And then he was playing in some bar in Tuscaloosa, and it was post game. LSU had beaten Alabama, so it was just the LSU people out that night. And this was prior to Saban. This was in the 2007, maybe 6, 5, somewhere in there. Everybody knew I was like a Taylor Hicks fanboy. And I was wearing that hard hat that's back there. I was back in the day I wore the hard hat to games.
Oh, I got one.
Taylor Hicks signed that hard hat. Yeah. So I'm in this bar that night. He comes on. They're like, special guest, Taylor Hicks. I mean, this is like the most random thing of all time.
That's unbelievable.
Oh yeah. For the sake of a thumbnail.
Missing out here.
You got a Troy. Please tell me you have a gladiator hat from Troy. You have a gladiator's helmet.
Football helmet, though. I can put that on. So
This is what we're doing when we do our football preview. This is how
Blasey,
we
got
do
to
it.
get you. No, Blasey, we have to get you the gladiator helmet, like this with the thing.
Oh yes,
chainmail. Oh yeah, we gotta
yes.
get you the
Hell
real Trojan
yeah.
helmet. Yes.
Oh, this is so. I'm so glad that Taylor Hicks has once again come in to just save the day. Yes, I'm
Soul
coming
Patrol,
to see
baby.
him. Hell
Soul
yeah.
Patrol. Soul Patrol,
Soul
baby.
Patrol. Oh yeah. Oh, I'm in.